moved into the duplex to save money. Quiet street, decent neighbors, and a landlord who fixed things fast. My roommate Kayla worked nights at the hospital. I worked days. Most weeks, we passed each other like ships in fog, trading quick updates on sticky notes. That Thursday, Kayla texted, "Double shift, won't be home until morning." I replied with a thumbs up and made myself pasta, the kind you eat straight from the pot when you're tired of being responsible. By 10:40 p.m., the house felt like a held breath. The heat clicked, then stopped. Pipes settled. A car hissed past on wet asphalt. I locked the deadbolt and did my routine. Front door, back door, porch light on, curtains drawn, phone charged. I was halfway through a show when I heard it, soft, rhythmic tapping. Not loud, not urgent, like someone flicking a fingernail against glass. I froze with the remote in my hand. The tapping came again, 3 quick taps, then a pause. My living room windows faced the street. The blinds were closed, but a sliver near the bottom was crooked from where Kayla's cat had pushed through months ago. I didn't want to look. Looking felt like agreeing. The tapping shifted now on the side of the house. My skin went tight. That window was the narrow one beside the staircase, half hidden behind a maple tree. I muted the TV. Silence rushed in. Another set of taps. Longer, more deliberate, like someone testing. I stood up slowly and grabbed my phone. I didn't call 911 yet because my brain did what brains do. It tried to be polite. It tried to be rational. It's a branch. It's an animal. It's anything else. Then I heard the sound that killed the branch theory, a soft scrape, as if something thin slid along the screen. I walked to the hall, barefoot on cold hardwood, and stood at the bottom of the stairs. The window up there was out of sight, but I could hear it clearly now. Tap, scrape, tap. I whispered, "Hello?" like an idiot. The tapping stopped instantly, like a person choosing to be quiet. My stomach dropped so hard, I tasted acid. I backed up, locked my phone with shaking fingers, and opened the camera app instead. No flash, no noise. I angled it toward the stairs and zoomed in like that would magically protect me. The staircase was dark except for a little glow from the TV. I stepped onto the first stair, second, third. Halfway up, I smelled something, cold air and damp fabric, like someone who'd been outside for hours. I reached the landing. The window was only a foot from my shoulder. The curtain was drawn, but I could see the faint outline of a handprint pressing through it from the outside, flattening the fabric against the glass. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My body chose stillness, the way rabbits freeze when they're spotted. The handprint slid down slowly, like the person was crouching. Then the taps returned, now lower on the pane, testing, searching. I stumbled backward and almost fell down the stairs. At the bottom, I fumbled the lock on the closet under the stairs where we kept a bat. I didn't have a bat. Kayla's ex had borrowed it months ago. All I found was an umbrella and a broken mop handle. I grabbed the mop handle like it was a sword, then realized how stupid that was. A mop handle against whatever was out there. I ran to the kitchen and locked the back door again, even though it already was. I turned off the overhead lights and left only the small light above the stove. Then I heard it, the soft sound of a window screen flexing, not ripping, flexing, like someone knew how to lift it without tearing. The upstairs tapping stopped. I could hear movement on the staircase now. Not footsteps, something like a slow shift, a careful change in weight, the kind you make when you're trying not to be heard. My heart slammed. I stared at the stairs and listened. A whisper of fabric. A soft thud, like a shoe touching a stair lightly. I backed into the pantry and shut the door, leaving it cracked just enough to see the kitchen. My phone was in my hand, thumb hovering over 911. I couldn't tell if calling would make things worse. Then a shape appeared at the top of the stairs, a head and shoulders, moving down like a shadow poured into the house. The person paused on the landing, and the dim light from the stove barely caught a detail. A hood, wet with rain. They stood perfectly still. Then they tilted their head, as if listening for breathing. I pressed my hand over my mouth so I wouldn't make a sound. My mop handle shook against the pantry shelf. The shadow drifted down 3 steps. Then my phone buzzed. I almost dropped it. The vibration sounded like a drum in my skull. On the screen, Kayla. The figure froze. I hit answer without thinking, whispering, "Kayla." Her voice was loud in the quiet house. "Hey, just got off." The person on the stairs turned sharply toward the pantry, like a compass needle snapping north. I hung up, hit 911. The dispatcher answered, and I couldn't make words fast
911,
enough.
what's your emergency?
"Someone's in my house. Duplex. Someone came in. Please." The figure took 1 step down, then another, faster now. I shoved the pantry door closed and braced my shoulder against it. The handle rattled immediately, the person trying it once, twice. "Ma'am, are you somewhere safe?" the dispatcher asked. "No," I whispered. "They're right here." The handle stopped. Then, quiet. I held my breath. A soft click came from the other side, like metal touching metal. Not a key. Something thin, maybe a butter knife, maybe a tool, sliding into the crack. The latch shifted. I screamed then, loud and raw, and threw my full weight against the door. The latch caught again. From the other side, the person exhaled, slow and irritated like I was an inconvenience. Then, footsteps, fast, retreating. A crash upstairs, a window slamming, the sound of someone dropping to the ground outside. I stayed in the pantry until police lights washed blue and red across the kitchen. They searched the house. No one inside. But at the upstairs stairwell window, the screen had been lifted carefully from the bottom and put back down to hide it. On the sill, a muddy footprint. On the glass, the faint outline of a handprint. The officer checked every lock. "This window," he said, pointing, "doesn't latch right." I stared at it. It had been like that since I moved in. It never fully caught, and I told myself the screen was enough. The officer looked at me hard. "Screen is not a lock." In the morning, Kayla came home and found me sitting on the kitchen floor with the mop handle still in my lap. I didn't sleep for days. After that, I replaced every latch myself. I bought window alarms that screamed if anything shifted. But sometimes, when the house is quiet and the heat clicks off, I swear I can still hear the soft tapping. 3 quick taps, then a pause, as if someone is checking whether I learned my lesson.
The first time my front door opened, I blamed the wind. It was a Saturday around 8 p.m. I'd just gotten out of the shower, hair dripping, wearing an oversized hoodie and socks. My boyfriend was out of town. My friends were busy. It was just me, a frozen pizza, and a night of not talking to anyone. I heard the doorknob turn. I remember thinking, that's weird, like my brain couldn't place the sound in my house. Then the deadbolt clicked. Once. My stomach flipped. I stood in the hallway with my towel still in my hands. The door opened a few inches, enough for cold air to push in. The porch light spilled across the floor like pale water. No one stepped inside. The door eased shut again. I stared at it until my eyes hurt. Then I walked up slowly and checked the lock. Deadbolt, locked. Chain, latched. Handle, secure. I looked through the peephole. Empty porch, quiet street. I called my friend Jada anyway. "I think my door just opened." "Like someone came in?" she asked. "No, it opened and closed, but it was locked." "Call the cops." "I don't want to be dramatic." "Be dramatic." I didn't call. I ordered a cheap door wedge online instead and moved a chair under the handle like in movies. An hour later, I sat on the couch with pizza and a show on low volume. That's when it opened again. This time, the door swung wider, about a foot, and it hit the chain with a loud metallic snap. I jumped so hard I bit my tongue. A hand appeared in the crack, pale fingers reaching for the chain like it was a puzzle. I screamed. Not a cute scream. A wild animal scream. I threw my phone at the door without thinking. The fingers vanished instantly. I ran to the kitchen, grabbed the biggest knife I had, then realized how useless that felt. I backed away from the door and hit 911 with shaking hands. While I waited for the dispatcher, I heard something outside, soft and close, like someone breathing through the crack. The dispatcher asked questions. "Are you alone? Is the person inside?" "I don't know," I said, voice cracking. "They're at the door. I saw their hand." The chain rattled once, as if they'd tugged it gently, testing, then silence. Police arrived within minutes, lights flashing. An officer walked the perimeter with a flashlight while another stayed with me inside. "There's no sign of forced entry," he said after checking the frame and lock. "Your deadbolt looks fine." "But it turned," I insisted. "I heard it." The officer frowned, then pointed at the doorknob. "What kind is this?" I looked closer. It was a normal knob with a small slot under it. "This is one of those quick-release knobs," he said. "Some models can be opened from the outside with a coin or flat tool if the internal mechanism fails." My throat tightened. "So, someone could—" "Possibly," he said carefully. "But let's check something else." He stepped onto the porch and crouched near the mat. "See this?" On the paint, near the lock, there was a faint scratch, fresh, like a thin piece of metal had scraped there. Then he pointed at the edge of the door frame. "And here, small marks, like someone's been working it." I felt sick. The officer looked up at the porch light. "How long has that bulb been out?" "It's not out," I said. "It's on." He shook his head. "It's flickering, on and off. Enough to make you think it's on from inside, but from certain angles, it's dim." That's when I understood the first time. Someone had tried the door, realized I was moving around, and backed off. The second time, they got bolder, until I screamed. The officer recommended changing the lock immediately. Before they left, they did a sweep and checked my windows. In my bedroom window, the screen was slightly bent outward at one corner. Not torn, just pushed, like someone tried to lift it and couldn't. When the officers drove away, the house felt bigger, emptier, like it couldn't protect me. I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch with every light on, the knife useless on the table, waiting for the door to open again. It never did. But 2 days later, my neighbor knocked. "Hey," she said, awkward. "Did you have police here?" "Yes," I said, heart kicking. She hesitated. "They arrested a guy a few houses down. He'd been checking doors. He had tools and a list." "A list?" "Apartment numbers," she whispered. "Times people weren't home." I looked at my door like it could hear us. That night, I installed a new deadbolt, a door wedge, and a small camera. And every time I lock up, I still listen for the sound that started it all. The quiet, confident click of a deadbolt turning when no one should be there.
I learned the hard way that silence in an apartment building isn't always a good sign. I lived on the 3rd floor in an old building with thin walls and a hallway that always smelled like carpet cleaner and someone else's cooking. You could hear everything: arguments, TVs, footsteps. So when the building went quiet one Tuesday night, it felt wrong. My roommate had gone to her boyfriend's. I was alone, studying at the kitchen table with a mug of tea and my laptop. At 11:12 p.m., someone knocked on my door. Not a neighbor knock, not friendly. 3 firm knocks, evenly spaced. I didn't move. No one ever knocked that late. Then a voice said softly, "Maintenance, we need to check your water line." My mouth went dry. Our maintenance guy was named Ron, and he always called first. Also, he didn't work nights. I kept my voice steady. "Can you come back tomorrow?" Silence. Then the voice again, a little sharper. "It'll only take a minute. Open the door." I stood up quietly and walked to the peephole. The hallway light was dim. I could see a figure in a dark hoodie standing too close to my door, head angled down so the peephole couldn't catch a face. My hands started to shake. I backed away and whispered, "I'm calling the office." The figure didn't move. The voice changed, deeper, impatient. Open the door or we'll have to come in. A cold rush spread through my arms. We'll have to come in. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911 with my back against the kitchen counter. While it rang, I heard the sound of metal on metal, something scraping near the lock. Not banging, not kicking, picking. The dispatcher answered. I forced words out. Someone's trying to get into my apartment right now. Are you safe? She asked. I'm inside. They're at the door. I saw them. Stay away from the door. Do you have a safe room? I moved into my bedroom and locked it. My heart was so loud, I couldn't hear anything else. Then the hallway voice came again, closer, like they'd put their mouth near the door. I know you're in there. I clamped a hand over my mouth. Tears burned behind my eyes. The lock clicked once, sharp, metallic. Then again, the sound of my deadbolt turning halfway. I almost dropped the phone. The dispatcher kept talking, calm. Officers are on the way. Stay on the line. I pressed my ear to my bedroom door and listened. A final click. Then, the faint creak of my front door opening. My whole body went numb. Footsteps entered my apartment, slow and deliberate, like someone taking their time. I stayed frozen, phone pressed to my cheek, listening to them move through my living room. I heard the soft sound of a drawer opening, a cabinet, a pause, then a whisper, barely audible, like the person was talking to themselves. The footsteps started toward the hallway that led to my bedroom. I crawled into my closet and pulled the door almost shut, leaving a narrow crack. The hallway light from my bedroom was off, so the only glow came from the street lamp outside my window. The footsteps stopped right outside my bedroom door. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the doorknob turned, slowly, quietly. My bedroom door opened. The person stepped in. I could see their outline, hood up, shoulders hunched, hands low at their sides. They paused like they were listening for breathing. I held my breath until my lungs screamed. The person took a step toward the closet. Another. They were close enough that I could smell them. Cold air, cigarette smoke, and something metallic. My phone buzzed softly. Low battery. The glow lit my face for half a second. The figure snapped their head toward the closet. In one fast motion, the closet door yanked open. I screamed and swung my arm blindly, hitting something. Maybe their shoulder, maybe their hand. They cursed, stumbled back, and then I heard sirens outside, sudden and loud. The intruder bolted, sprinting out of my bedroom. I heard my front door slam. I stayed in the closet until police pounded on my apartment door and shouted my name through the dispatcher. They found the lock scratched up and the door frame marked. Later, the building manager admitted there'd been issues with the deadbolt mechanism, something about a loose plate. I moved out the next month, but sometimes when I'm alone and someone knocks at night, I still hear that voice in my head. Calm, fake, practiced. Maintenance. Open the door. When you live alone, you learn patterns without trying. Mrs. Doyle watered her plants at 7:15 every evening. The teenage boy next door took the trash out late because he always forgot. The couple across the street argued with their windows open. So, when the house across from mine went dark for 3 nights in a row, I noticed. It was a rental that changed tenants often. Sometimes it sat empty. That week it looked empty again. No porch light, no cars, no movement behind the curtains. On the 4th night, I came home from work and saw a dim light in the upstairs window, just a small glow, like a phone screen. Then it vanished. I stood in my driveway with my keys in my hand, staring. Maybe new tenants, maybe a cleaner. I went inside, locked the door, and tried to forget it. At 1:03 a.m., I woke up because my dog, Milo, growled, low and steady. He didn't bark. Milo only growled when he was scared. I sat up, heart thumping. "What is it?" I whispered. Milo crept toward the window and stared at the street. I moved the curtain a half-inch. Across the street, the upstairs light was back, dim, bluish. It flickered as if someone was walking around with a phone. Then the glow shifted toward the window, and for a second I saw a silhouette, someone standing there, watching my house. I let the curtain fall and backed away, stomach twisting. Milo's growl deepened. I checked my security app. The camera over my garage showed nothing. The front door camera showed my porch, empty and still. I told myself it was nothing. Then my phone buzzed with a notification. Front motion detected. I opened the feed. My porch light was on. The camera showed a shape at the edge of the frame, low and close to the steps, like someone crouched just out of view. The person's hand slid into frame, gloved, holding something that caught the porch light. A metal tool, flat and thin. They reached toward my doormat. I remembered suddenly the spare key I kept under that mat because my mom insisted it was smart. I felt stupid enough to gag. The glove lifted the mat. My hand moved before my brain did. I hit the alarm button on the app. A loud siren erupted from the camera speaker. The person jerked back like they'd been shocked, then scrambled off the porch, disappearing into the darkness. Milo barked once, sharp and furious. I stayed by the window, shaking, watching the street. Across the street, the upstairs light turned on fully, bright now, not a phone glow. The silhouette moved again, clearly a person. Then the upstairs window curtain shifted, and someone pressed their face close to the glass, staring directly at my house. Even from that distance, I could feel it, a tension, focused and cold, like a finger pointed at me. I called 911 and told them everything. The lights, the porch, the key. While I waited, I watched the house across the street. The upstairs light went off. A minute later, the front door of that empty house opened, and a figure stepped out, hood up, hands in pockets, walking calmly down the sidewalk like they belonged there. As they passed under a streetlight, they looked up at my house, just a quick glance, but it made my throat close. Police arrived and took a statement. One officer walked across the street with a flashlight and knocked on the empty house. No answer. He tried the doorknob and looked back at his partner. Doors open. They went in. They came out 10 minutes later, faces tight. "Ma'am," the officer said gently, "that house is supposed to be vacant, but someone's been staying in there." My skin turned to ice. "Squatters?" "Looks like it," he said. "There's a sleeping bag upstairs, food wrappers, and binoculars." Binoculars. I stared at my own lit windows and felt exposed, like I'd been standing naked in front of the world without knowing. They found my spare key under the mat, exactly where the gloved hand had reached for it. That night, I slept with every light off, every curtain closed, Milo at the foot of the bed, and my phone in my hand. In the morning, I bought a lockbox for a spare key, motion lights for the driveway, and a thicker deadbolt. The house across the street stayed dark after that, but even now, when I walk past an empty home and see a faint light shift behind a curtain, I don't think new tenants. I think about binoculars in a vacant upstairs bedroom, and I lock my door twice. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, remember to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to tap the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when a new video drops. Until next time, my friends.